Without a doubt, this was the craziest battle that Platinum End has seen to date. I mean, I was trying to speculate last week which way it could go down. I wasn't expecting that Metropoliman would have 3 other allies that he could summon, and what was, I thought, going to be maybe a 1v4, 2v4, something like that, turned out to be a 4v4. Now, the interesting thing about this is how Metropoliman seemingly is actually wanting to finish this once and for all. He's even willing to let Mikaido's family go away because he realizes one wrong move and a white arrow can kill him. Even though he's firmly convinced that he's not going to get killed by our main character Mirai, he's recognized that he's not willing to use the white arrow, but at the same time, he's not immune to getting shot by a red arrow himself. So it's interesting to see just how far he's willing to go from having a gunman who literally is ripping apart the streets, loses an arm. I was not expecting Hajime to actually get a nearly fatal blow on him. I was like, oh, they just, they cut him apart, it looks cool, but then when you realize his arm's literally gone, his once amazing physique of firing 2 giant guns isn't all that impressive when you're bleeding for your life and he's down for the count. But to introduce bioterrorism, this is without a doubt the most crazy cliffhanger and the most crazy character we've seen today. It's crazy because, on one hand, you have Metropoliman willing to threaten, saying either you guys die or the world's going to deal with this, because he's so down in his belief that if he becomes God, he could probably repair any of the damage he's doing. And in a completely logical sense, what he's saying is making sense that should they die here, the only ones who will have to die going forward would be God candidates. However, the man's a lunatic and does not deserve to be God. Anyone who wants to be God to begin with probably isn't really suited to be God, but I digress. But to see this woman who literally shows us what it will do to a rat, just like burning from the inside, and the fact that you can't kill her. If her heart stops, it will go off, or she'll press the button, and they want to test it on Mirai. So there's no way it's going to go in the direction of she dies, or Mirai gets infected. I just don't see how that's possible, because one, Mirai's making it to the end of the anime. It's basic anime principles. He has to. I just don't see them killing off Mirai at this point. It's clearly his story, as much as some people may not like to admit it. Completely sane. She is someone who needs to be locked up in a padded room, examine what happened and what went wrong, and then from there, give her to the chair because this bitch don't deserve to live. It's kind of frightening, I have to admit, to see just how far they're willing to go and how it's not a typical fight. When I saw that it was a 4v4, I was like, okay, it'll be interesting because one person will pick one person to fight and then maybe they'll try to jump them. But instead, you got the typical action that you would assume with someone with a bunch of machine guns. But then when it came to the next opponent, it literally was bioterrorism, something you can't really predict. And then the other kid with the mask, I don't know what his deal is, what his fighting style or kind of threatening aura will be. But if you need to make an impression, Metropoliman did the right thing. He observed, he realized the ignorance of Mirai and the others, and he's exploiting it, saying in a world where we're killing each other, lies aren't something that you should be criticizing. It's something that just kind of comes with the game and the nature here. But it's interesting because I really wasn't expecting it to be as much of a standoff as it initially was. I thought as soon as he got there, he was just going to immediately start killing, but he's not an idiot. He doesn't rush into things, and he also recognizes that he's not going to fight in a battle he's not going to win. He understands that he's not going to get killed by the one person with a white arrow, so he can stick by and say, I'm going to finish this once and for all. Mikaido himself is dying, he doesn't have to worry, but Mirai is a idiot to him. He wants to make sure this kid dies, and by having him be the test subject for this bioterrorism event, if it happened, right, you poison Mirai and he dies, at that point, all bets are off. And he doesn't have to worry, he can flee and just leave them to do what he needs to do there. Honestly, I have no idea how they're getting out of that one. The only way I could see it is if she gets shot by a red arrow. But how would they do that? And then in return, would he allow that to happen? I don't know, because I just don't get it, because they're probably all controlled to begin with, right? It's just one of those things that I don't see how they can get out of it, because they did a smart thing by hitting each other with a red arrow. I believe it was Mirai hit Saki, Saki hit Mikaido, and Mikaido hit Mirai. It's like the perfect thing. So basically, you have to use physical weapons against them, and physical weapons aren't faster than wings. But at the same time, you can see some pretty clever maneuverability that wings can only carry one person at a time. So if 2 people are weighing him down, he's going to get his arm cut off when our boy comes in and just completely slices it. So I don't know, man. It's one of those things that unless they can actually use a red arrow against her, which, it's one of those things that just, it don't sit right. It seems it's too on the nose, but also at the same time, the too on the nose possibility doesn't seem likely. And honestly, I think they're screwed right now, but that's kind of exciting. I'd honestly be shocked at this point if all the characters that we currently see, minus the 2 new goons that we got introduced to, or the 3 new goons, I should say, I could see dying or getting brutally wounded, but I still think Metropoliman's going to get out of this one, and I also think everyone minus maybe Mukaido will also get out of this. I could see him getting out of it and saying one last goodbye to his family, but a part of me thinks when he hugged his daughter goodbye, that literally was the last time. So I'm kind of curious if maybe they'll go to the direction of, like, Mukaido will sacrifice himself. Maybe he'll say, no, I'll do the experiment. But how are they going to convince that? Because, right, the only one that Metropoliman is slightly worried about is the kid with the white arrow. Killing the kid with the white arrow is going to solve all his issues. But if Mukaido's saying, I'll be your human experiment, and Mirai argues against it, maybe the girl will just go on her own whims and say, as long as I get to burn a human, maybe that's the direction they're going. But either way, it feels like we're building up to the moment where Mirai is going to start having to use that white arrow, and I think he's finally reaching his breaking point. I mean, we have literally Saki in this episode say it's okay for Hajime to kill Metropoliman, right? So the idea of no longer wanting to kill is kind of off the table, especially when you introduce bioterrorism. So, I mean, at this point, it feels like Mirai's facing the truth that even though he didn't want to be a part of this world, he didn't want to do anything. At this point, he has to do something. It really feels like we're reaching that point in his character development. I mean, this show is very interesting because, I mean, I completely understood where they're going for the first 5 minutes. That's pretty much to be expected. I thought the kind of comedic relief of him arguing why he flew away without his earpiece, that he had to go to the bathroom. He already thought he was an idiot to begin with, so I'm not surprised that he didn't initially question it. But the fact that he didn't just come in by himself, like I think many of us were assuming, but came in with backup, makes complete sense for his character. In terms of pure strategy, Metropoliman is without doubt the most strategic character we've seen, which is what makes him such a frightening antagonist force. Something that you really don't know who he's going to bring. Is it going to be a girl on a tower who slices people with a knife? Is it going to be an army dude with machine guns? Is it going to be a girl who literally can destroy the entire world by having a chemical that can take out an entire city as she floats in the air? Like, there's literally probably every characteristic trait you would need to be an effective antagonist, and I think Metropoliman possesses. But the fact that he's not running away and that even someone like Nase is recognizing that there's no lie, I don't know what this man has up his sleeve past her. Maybe it'll turn out that the girl's not even the most frightening of the 3. Maybe the kid with the mask is going to be. I don't know. But this show, it's entertaining, man. It really is. I've had a blast now for 11 episodes, and it really doesn't feel like the excitement for me is letting up, which proves that next season when we kick in through 13 through 24, I mean, this show is going to remain to be pretty entertaining for me, and it'll be interesting to see the other types of twists and turns they'll present us, especially now that they raised the bar to bioterrorism. But let me know your thoughts and feelings down below. Theories if you have any. Do you think Mukaido's going to sacrifice himself somehow? Do you think they're somehow going to shoot her with a red arrow? Well, I mean, there's a lot of ways they could go about it, but it also kind of all feels helpless, so let me know what you're feeling down below. Leave a like if you enjoyed and subscribe if you're new around here. So until next time, everyone, please take care and have a good one.